Hi you guys, welcome back to Leap of Faith Life. I'm Azar and I'm so glad that you will be staying in Costa Rica, hopefully long term. In this video, we're gonna go over a few quick tips and tricks for your next travel to Costa Rica or your upcoming travel. I lived in Costa Rica for a number of months. The longest stint was 6 months at a time. It's a wonderful country. It's a beautiful country. The culture, the food, the people are amazing. The pace of life is just, they really have it right in Costa Rica. So I congratulate you for either deciding, maybe you're making some decisions here about taking the next leap to live in Costa Rica for a significant time period, or maybe you've already made the decision and now you're just kind of binge watching all the information that there is out there on Costa Rica, which is absolutely what I do whenever I'm moving to a new country. So hopefully these are some new tips and tricks that you can use on your upcoming trip. So I've got my full list here of all the details that you guys need for having an awesome adventure in Costa Rica. So the first tip is the visa situation. Now, I know the United States the best, coming from that country, but I would look up, just in this changing political climate that we are existing in today, no matter what country you're coming from, make sure you're looking up on your country's website what the travel restrictions are when you're coming to Costa Rica, and they'll outline if you need a visa or any other bits of information that are helpful. I would always check on that just to be up to date on information. So, at the time that I was living in Costa Rica, which I believe still is in act today, is there's a 72-hour policy where you can live for 90 days in Costa Rica, but then you have to leave the country for 72 hours to refresh your time. So a lot of people will go either north to Nicaragua or they'll go south to Panama. It's actually a really great excuse to get out, see another space, see another country, and then come back refreshed and go back to wherever you were living in Costa Rica. Or maybe you're gonna try a new city out in Costa Rica from where you were. I refreshed my time in Nicaragua. I took a few days up there and I climbed a volcano. There's a couple different volcanoes to choose from. And I just experienced the different city life up there for just a few days. I took a bus because I was dirt poor at the time, and the bus was awesome. I got a lot of reading done. There are a lot of, I think they're called chicken buses, that they're just regular, if you're in the US, those yellow big school buses that you take up there. So make sure you've got, you know, all your essentials packed and things like that to have a good trip up there in that type of environment. I had a great time. It's nice because you'd go in one big group and you have your passport and they stamp you through, and the new ticketing areas were getting upgraded at the time that I was there a couple of years ago, so that should be a really nice experience. You know, as nice as that experience can be, passing through stamping visas and stuff, or stamping your passport and such. Now, if you fly, that's great too. There's a few airports. Any of the airports will fly north and south into Panama or Nicaragua, but there are a ton of great places. Bocas del Toro is a really great place in Panama if you are looking for just kind of a quick trip down there. Otherwise, this place is really fun. And we didn't actually go to that space. We just went to Granada. I was trying to remember where we went. It was Granada, and that was a really fun trip as well. We hiked the volcanoes around in that area. So once you know how long you can stay and whether or not you need a visa, it's great to bring a Ziploc baggie for your passport. Now, if you are living at the beach, this is going to be essential, because after probably a few weeks, after about a month, your passport is going to start to get a little bit moldy just due to the high moisture content in the air that exists next to the beach. Now, if you're living in a cloud forest, or you're living in the city in San Jose, which is in a more mountainous space in the central part of Costa Rica, you won't have this issue, so don't worry about that. But if you're going to be traveling, you're not quite sure where you're going to land in Costa Rica, just bring a Ziploc baggie. It's important to keep it, you know, kind of sealed off from that moisture-filled air so that it lasts as long as it can. Next tip for you is to bring all of your medications, all of your things like any of the contacts that you might be wearing or cosmetics that you typically like to use and can't go without. This is really essential because you never know if you're able to get that same medication, that same cosmetic, whatever it is, or that same contact prescription or glasses prescription. I actually brought, I think it was one pair of glasses down, and I was living in a really remote space and my glasses started getting a little bit loose, and it was pretty annoying, and it took a long time to get up to the city to get it kind of adjusted at just one of the normal glasses stores. So it's great to bring all of those extra items that you'll need for that amount of time. Cosmetics can be expensive, and what I mean by cosmetics or just beauty toiletry items in general, things like deodorant and shampoo, conditioner, soaps, depending on what it is and depending on the type of beauty product, it can be a little bit more expensive than normal products in Costa Rica. So if you are on a budget, it's good just to bring that extra little stick of deodorant that you like, or that extra little bit of shampoo. You don't have to go crazy, but just think, oh, maybe you'll get the regular size bottle rather than bringing the little bottles and then, you know, stocking up when you're there. Especially if you're living in the smaller beachside towns or mountainside towns, it can be a little bit more expensive. So that's cognizant. That's something to keep a lookout for. Traveler's insurance is going to be key. This is something I didn't really invest in until about halfway through my trip in Costa Rica, and I was really lucky that nothing happened. But I'm a pretty healthy individual. I'm lucky enough to not have any pre-existing conditions. So I felt like, you know, I'll get it when I'm down there. It's gonna be fine. And just stuff comes up. So for example, I woke up one day and my eye was completely pink. It wasn't pink eye or anything like that. It was just, there's some kind of irritant that had gotten in there, and we were pretty far away from the nearest town, and I was working at a resort center, and I had to ask one of the guests who was a nurse to take a look at my eye to say, like, okay, what should I get? Luckily, in Costa Rica, you go to the pharmacy and you consult actually with the individuals there, and they're able to tell you what to get, and it's a little bit easier of a process and less expensive than a process than in the United States. But again, it's just nice to know if you have something pre-existing, or if you have something that you know, like, oh, you get an upset stomach a lot when you travel, to bring all that medication that you know that you like and that works well for you. Again, it's perfectly fine to go to those places, to go to the pharmacy and ask for help. But again, you're doing it in another language. You might not they might not quite understand, or the issue that you might be having, because it's super specific. So it's just nice to be prepared. It's just nice to be prepared ahead of time. Know that when you come to Costa Rica, at least for people from the United States, you need a departure ticket, and I'm pretty sure it's for everybody that comes to Costa Rica. They want to see that you are going to be leaving the country, and you're not going to be just living there like, oh gosh, yeah, now I'm Costa Rican, now I'm a Tica. They want to see that you do have other travel plans in place. So it might be nice to just have your planned trip to Panama, 80 days out from when you need to leave the country, already booked. Or sometimes you could get away with bus tickets, or I was gonna say train tickets, but that's more of like European side of things. If you can prove that you're leaving the country, that's really important. So I'll just leave it at that. Do your own research. If you're able to find a way of doing that, that's really important. Now, sometimes they don't look at this, but sometimes they do, and you just never know. You don't want to necessarily risk it. The other thing to budget for and keep in mind is that there's a $30 tourist exit tax when you leave the country. It's about $30. It might be more, it might be less these days. But at the time, it was about that much, and it was just important to budget for that. I really needed to have that in mind before I left. And it's just a way of keeping things up to date within the country with the amount of tourists that are coming to visit. I honestly think way more countries should do this. It enables things like bathrooms and trash receptacles, different things like that to be in place so that the infrastructure can hold all the amount of tourists that are coming through, and their trash, their waste, that kind of thing. So it's just important to budget for in the beginning. Items to pack for long-term travel is to make sure that you've got a hat, make sure that you've got a sarong or scarf, which is going to help protect you from either the sun when you're sunbathing. You can use it as a towel on the beach. You can use it in the bus when it gets really cold when you're traveling. There's lots of different ways you can use that scarf or sarong, and then the hat's just really key. The sun is really intense, so it's nice to have that just for any type of travel. You can connect it to your bag. You don't have to pack it. It can just be just kind of on your person at all times. Layers are really important because there are so many different climate zones within the country of Costa Rica. That's what makes it so special. So make sure that you are bringing a long sleeve shirt or something that you can put over yourself, jeans or pants, or just lots of socks in general. Just knowing that if you're in the cloud forest, or if you are in San Jose or any of those main central parts that are up a little bit higher, it's going to be cooler, especially at nighttime. The beach is going to be boiling hot most of the time, and in the rainy season it's really important to have a lightweight rain jacket to have just going around in general. Now, I wouldn't go so far as to say you need, rain boots, but if you're like living in the city and you're a student, you're going to be going to university every day in the city of San Jose, then yeah, if you're going during the rainy season, I would say invest in a pair of boots, rain boots. Maybe you get them when you're there, but just know that that's something that is important to just think about. Now, it seems silly, but socks and underwear, I would say add to whatever you're bringing. Some guys make fun of that. They like to not have a ton of stuff with them, or some ladies even as well. But if you're usually a more modest or more kind of on the sparse side of packing, I would still up your underwear and socks, especially for long-term travel. Yes, you can go to the store and get them, but sometimes depending on where you are, if you're at the beach, for example, and the mosquitoes, it's perhaps the rainy season, it's just nice to have that, a couple extra socks. Or if you're going hiking a lot, just trust me, every time I travel, I always need more socks and underwear than I'm thinking. And Costa Rica is very, very, very much the space to remember that. One final clothing tip is to bring black clothing. It tends to be the easiest to wash and you can wear it multiple times. And if you are traveling and living there for quite a while, it's nice to not pack super heavy, but then also have things that you can wear and not show that you've worn it multiple times. Living at the beach for such a long time and not having anything new coming in, or just having the same wardrobe that I was cycling through, it was nice to go to, when I would go up to San Jose, to the big city, you could go to the different thrift stores that were there, and that was a great idea when I was on a budget. So just know that there are little options here and there, but try and bring, a light amount of things, but bring out things that you can exchange with as far as doing different accessories, so scarves or necklaces, things that you can make it look like it's a different outfit, but really it's the same thing. Black really helps with the wear and tear. For the ladies, please research Diva Cup for when you are having menstruation. It is so key, so important. I'm gonna leave it at that. You can go 12 hours without changing it. You can be in the sketchiest of bathroom situations if you're, for example, going in a bus, traveling. It's changed my life. Just look it up. I think it's called something else. That might be an actual brand, Diva Cup, but look it up. There are lots of different videos online that show kind of the benefits of that, but I would just say for Costa Rica, it's a real game changer. Know that if you are from the United States, that they do accept the US dollar. So I would recommend changing cash, but just know that at most places they will accept US dollars. $20 bills are the largest increments that they'll want to go and exchange cash for. And sometimes you'll give them a 20 and you got something for 15, about the equivalent of 15 Costa Rican dollars. They're going to give you back potentially in Costa Rican currency. Just know they will do the conversion, but they'll do it for whatever they know is the conversion fee that day. Not a huge deal. It's just good to know that sometimes it's kind of weird that you can use both currencies kind of interchangeably, and they'll give you change based on the opposite of what you've given them, which is kind of cool though in essence. So just know that they do accept both. It's good to have a little bit of cash on hand, especially for those little smaller purchases at the store, that kind of thing. I'm gonna leave it up to you. are a good majority of ATMs, but if you're going to be traveling via bus or just traveling along the country a lot, I would say, you know, make sure you're getting out enough cash at the time of when you do find an ATM, just in case there isn't one. We would have to travel pretty far, but I was in a pretty remote city at the time that I was living in. But know that the conversion fees are pretty decent when you do it from an ATM in country versus, you know, exchanging it before you come in country. That was the fact when I was traveling there at the time, so I would definitely recommend that. I keep mentioning buses, and those are really great if you aren't on a strict timetable. So a lot of times if you're only in Costa Rica for a week and you're wanting to go the north and south, I would recommend a planned ride. But if you are there just, you know, for a 3, 6, 9 month extension, I would say definitely take a bus. It's way cheaper. You're gonna be able to, even if you're not quite on a budget, it's well worth it to see the countryside and to just kind of have that experience. I remember going from San Jose, which is in the middle north part of the country, all the way down south to almost to the Panamanian border. That was about 6 to 8 hours of travel, but it was really fast and easy. They would stop for plenty of breaks, and they would stop in at spaces where you could have a nice meal, and it was just kind of a neat way to see the country. Yes, it took a little bit of more time, but I was on a budget at the time, and it really made a huge difference. Their bus system is really easy to navigate, and it goes to all over the country, and it even goes into Panama and into Nicaragua, which is what I took when I was going to those locations. I did a big circle around into Panama up to Nicaragua, just going through Costa Rica, and it was so key. Know that they have US plugs, so if you are coming from the United States, you don't need a converter. You will want to look at the voltage exchange so that if you have like a blow dryer or something, that you're not going to blow everything out, especially some of the older buildings, or some of the buildings can be older and so they can't handle as high of a voltage. But just know that your regular, you know, phone charger will work as a US plug. But if you're coming from Europe or Asia, know that, you know, either one of those converters are going to work for you. Last couple tips here are, if you are going to bring books, I always like to bring a couple books traveling. It's nice kind of currency exchange with other travelers, and then also it just keeps you entertained on those long travel rides if you're going to be going on the buses and things. Know that the books do mold, so don't bring your favorite books necessarily. Just know that maybe you keep a little large gallon size or large size Ziploc for that, especially if you're going to the different beach areas. If you're in just San Jose or the mountainous region, you won't have to worry about that as much, but that's just a tip that I have for you because that surprised me when I came down to Costa Rica and I was living on the beach. So you guys, I hope you have an excellent adventure. Let me know if you have any questions. The community can answer below, or I can answer. I am Leap of Faith Life on Instagram. Like this video if you want to have more videos on tips and tricks on how to live abroad or how to live in Costa Rica or travel to Costa Rica. I'm so glad that you're taking the leap of faith, and I hope that you have an excellent, excellent time. Until next time, you guys.